What if I told you Russia built an entire military city hidden under the Arctic ice, and almost no one knew it existed? Not a base, not a bunker. A self-contained city, with gyms, cinemas, streets, and enough weapons to control the entire top of the world, built in secret, built in conditions where steel shatters like glass. Engineers said it was physically impossible. Russia did it anyway, and the reason they built it will change how you see every map. This is the $40 billion ice fortress, the most ambitious military construction project since the space race, and it's still growing. By the 1990s, Russia had abandoned the Arctic entirely. Dozens of military bases, gone. Radar stations, dark. Runways built during the Soviet era, swallowed by snow and silence. When the USSR collapsed, Moscow couldn't afford to heat the barracks, let alone defend the top of the world. Soldiers were pulled out. Equipment was left to rust. The Arctic became a ghost zone.
By the 1990s, Cheer, this is what Russia's Arctic presence looked like. Abandoned, dark, silent.
Here's what nobody was talking about. Underneath that ice sits the single largest untapped resource deposit on the planet. We're talking 13% of the world's undiscovered oil, 30% of its undiscovered natural gas, rare earth minerals worth trillions, and one thing even more valuable than all of that combined, a shipping route, the Northern Sea Route, a passage along Russia's Arctic coastline that cuts the journey from Asia to Europe by 40%. No Suez Canal, no choke points, no gatekeepers. Whoever controls that route controls global trade for the next century. And Russia had just walked away from all of it.
Everything you see behind me too here, underneath it throughout, is the most valuable real estate on the planet. 30% of the world's undiscovered natural gas.
Wait until you hear what happened next. While Russia was retreating, everyone else moved in. Norway expanded Arctic patrols. The US upgraded its Alaskan bases. Canada started mapping the seabed. Denmark made territorial claims through Greenland. NATO began running cold weather war games closer and closer to Russian waters. By 2007, a Russian submarine planted a titanium flag on the Arctic seabed, directly under the North Pole. It was a statement, a warning, a line drawn at the bottom of the ocean. Moscow had realized something terrifying. The Arctic wasn't empty geography anymore. It was the most contested real estate on Earth, and Russia had left the front door wide open. Someone had to fix that, whatever it cost.
While Russia was retreating, Norway moved in. The US upgraded Alaskan bases. Canada started mapping the seabed.
In 2014, Putin signed a single order that shocked every military analyst on the planet. Russia would return to the Arctic. Not gradually, not cautiously. All at once. Dozens of bases reactivated. New airstrips carved into permafrost. And at the center of it all, one project so audacious that engineers initially refused to believe it was a real assignment. A fully self-contained military city, built from scratch, on a remote Arctic island, at temperatures that dropped to minus 50 degrees Celsius, somewhere no supply truck could ever reach.
This is the enemy, permafrost. It looks solid, it feels solid, but the second you put a heated building on top of it in there, it starts to melt.
Somewhere a construction crane could freeze solid overnight. Here's the crazy part. The location they chose was Alexandra Land, an island so remote it sits closer to the North Pole than to Moscow.
So they did something nobody had ever done at this scale. They ran liquid coolant down inside every single foundation pile.
No roads, no infrastructure, no population. Just ice, wind, and permanently frozen ground stretching in every direction. The permafrost was the first nightmare. You can't pour a conventional foundation into ground that never thaws. Standard concrete cracks. Steel bolts shear off in the cold. Every single construction method used anywhere else on Earth had to be thrown out and rebuilt from zero. Wait until you hear the scale of what they were actually planning. This wasn't a barracks with a radar dish on top. The blueprints called for a structure covering 14,000 square meters under a single pressurized roof. Housing for 150 personnel. a church, a greenhouse, sports facilities, a control center capable of tracking every aircraft and vessel within 900 kilometers. All of it sealed off from the outside world. Because in the Arctic, the outside world will kill you. Russia had made the decision. Now came the part that nobody had actually solved before. How do you build a city where nature itself is trying to destroy everything you create?
The entire structure, foundations, walls, weapon systems, completed in under 3 years, on an island with no...
The first thing engineers learned about building in the Arctic: the ground itself is the enemy. Permafrost looks solid. It behaves like solid. But the moment you place a heated structure on top of it, the warmth transfers downward. The frozen ground begins to thaw. And thawing permafrost doesn't just soften, it liquefies. Buildings tilt, foundations collapse. Entire Soviet-era structures were swallowed this way across Siberia. Russia had watched it happen for decades, so they invented something that had never been done at this scale before. Every single load-bearing column of the Arctic Trefoil, that's the name of the complex, was driven deep into the permafrost on refrigerated piles. Not heated, actively cooled. Pipes running liquid coolant down into the earth, keeping the ground around each foundation permanently frozen, regardless of what was happening inside the building above. The structure was literally engineered to freeze its own footprint. Here's where it gets interesting. The entire facility was built as 3 interconnected cylindrical wings, the trefoil shape, connected by a single central hub. That shape wasn't chosen for aesthetics. A cylinder deflects Arctic wind loads that would shatter a flat-walled building within a single winter season. Every curve had a structural purpose. The outer shell was built as a triple-layer insulated skin. Inside, temperatures maintained at a comfortable 18 degrees Celsius. Outside, temperatures capable of hitting -50. That's a 68-degree differential held stable by engineering alone, with no possibility of calling a repair crew if something failed. Wait until you hear the construction timeline. The entire structure, foundations, shell, internal systems, weapons installations, was completed in under 3 years. On an island with no roads, no port, no existing infrastructure of any kind. Every single component had to be shipped in by sea during the 6-week Arctic summer window. From the outside, the Arctic trefoil looks almost peaceful. 3 curved wings wrapped in bright orange and gray panels, sitting low against the white horizon. It could be a research station, a weather outpost, something completely harmless. That's exactly what Russia wants you to think. Here's what's actually inside. The moment you pass through the pressurized airlock entrance, because yes, it has an airlock, like a spacecraft, the facility splits into 2 completely separate worlds, the living zone and the weapons zone. And the weapons zone is where things get serious. S-400 missile systems capable of hitting targets 400 kilometers away are stationed directly on the island. MiG-31 interceptor jets operate from the newly rebuilt airstrip, the same jets designed to chase down stealth aircraft and hypersonic missiles. Coastal defense systems covering every approach vector by sea, and an underground radar installation so powerful it can track objects the size of a basketball moving at 5 times the speed of sound. Wait until you hear the living conditions, because this is where the engineering becomes genuinely surreal. The 150 personnel stationed here never need to go outside. Ever. Every corridor, every facility, every amenity sits under that single pressurized roof. A cinema, a billiards room, a full-size gymnasium, a greenhouse growing fresh vegetables year-round under artificial light, a Russian Orthodox chapel with its own dome. Everything connected by 1.5 kilometers of internal heated corridors. Officers describe living there as feeling like a submarine, except the submarine doesn't move and the ocean outside is frozen solid. The whole facility runs on its own independent power systems, own water supply, own sewage processing, designed to operate in complete isolation for 18 months without a single resupply. This isn't a military base. It's a weapons platform disguised as a city. Alexandra Land is just the beginning. Since the Arctic Trefoil opened, Russia has reactivated or built 14 separate military installations across its Arctic coastline. New airstrips on the new Siberian islands, radar stations on Cape Schmidt, a submarine base on the Kola Peninsula upgraded to handle the next generation of nuclear vessels, an entire defensive chain stretching 6,500 kilometers from the Norwegian border to the Bering Strait. Military analysts call it the Arctic Necklace. Russia calls it sovereign border protection. NATO calls it the single most aggressive military expansion since the Cold War. Here's what's actually driving all of it. Beneath the Arctic Ocean sits an estimated $30 trillion worth of extractable resources. As global temperatures rise and ice coverage shrinks, that number becomes more accessible every single year. The Northern Sea Route, once navigable only during brief summer windows, is now open for significantly longer periods annually. By 2050, some projections show it ice-free year-round. Whoever controls the Arctic in 2050 controls the shipping lanes, the resource extraction rights, and the strategic high ground above every major power in the Northern Hemisphere simultaneously. Wait until you hear this. The United States currently operates exactly one heavy icebreaker capable of Arctic operations. Russia operates 46. China is building more. Norway, Canada, and Denmark are all expanding Arctic claims through international courts. The race isn't coming. The race is already happening, right now, in one of the most inhospitable places on the surface of the planet. And sitting at the center of that race, on a frozen island closer to the North Pole than to any human city, is an orange and gray building that looks peaceful from the outside. Inside it, 150 people are watching every move. Nature gave us the Arctic. Engineering gave us the keys to own it.